Well, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Not sure how many of y'all got the message. I kind of sent it out a little bit late as far as setting this up. I'm still new at this, so I'm starting to get it ready and getting everything set up for what I need to do on YouTube. So tonight, basically, I'm starting a series. It is on the Revelations. Basically, I want people to understand that in Revelations, it's not something that's scary. I mean, it can be scary. There is stuff on here that is scary, but then again, on the other hand, there's the good part of it. I mean, Jesus' second coming, right? Most people don't know this. Some of you probably might, but as far as prophecies and things that they talk about, there is more in the book or in the Bible about the second coming than there actually is about Jesus' first coming. So it's a pretty important thing. What I'm going to do tonight, like I said, is start this series, and I'm going to start out with some prophecies and some things that's going on nowadays, and then later on I'll probably get into the really in-depth part of Revelations. So my wife's going to be helping me tonight, so when people are talking and sending me messages, and if you got questions or whatever about what's going on, I'm going to be sure and have her write those down as much as she can, and then towards the end I'm going to basically answer the questions the best I can. Also, I welcome any comments, anything you might have to say about what's going on that you know about, and I would love to hear any of that stuff. I know that I set this live stream. It's supposed to go, I put it in there from 8 to 9, so about an hour, but it might or might not go that fast. It all depends on how well this works out and how, how fast I read, basically, or how fast I talk, or how fast I go through the slides, or whatever. So, with that, I guess we can go ahead and get started. I need to put my glasses on so I can see. And, and I'm wearing a hat because today was home haircut day and my wife cut my hair. So I'm going to be wearing a hat for most of this. Nah, she did a good job. She did. So, all right. Well, let's move on to what we're going to be talking about here. Basically, like I said, the end is near. I mean, many experts and modern-day biblical prophets believe that we are in the end times, that we have been in the end times for a long time, and we do know that during the last several, probably 30, 40 years, a lot of people have been talking about the end times and that the time is coming, right? So we've had a lot of stuff happen that you see certain things come in that could be construed as Bible prophecy coming true and whatnot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is. Now, the thing about today, or at these modern times, that we've been seeing a lot of things happening. Nowadays makes us even more prudent to study your Bible and know Revelations, because it is an important thing as far as Revelations. It's all about saving our souls, right, and saving as many souls as possible and bringing them back to God. There's several things that's going on now, and it's been happening faster and faster and faster. So these are the things that we need to be watching out for. So basically, what I'm going to be going over is sign of the times, right? So if you have a Bible, you can look these up. You don't have to, but they are in the Bible. So Matthew 24:33 says, "So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that the time is near, even at the door." Basically, he was saying when you start seeing signs, and certain signs he was actually speaking to, when they start coming in, we will know that those times are near and that the end is near. So, if you go back to Daniel 2:31 through 45, all right, it says, "Thou, O King, Now, in this, Daniel is speaking to Nebuchadnezzar, who is the king of Babylon at that time. Says, "Thou, O king, and behold a great image." So he's talking about Nebuchadnezzar's dream. "The image's head was of fine gold, his breast and arms of silver, his belly and thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part iron and part clay." Okay, so he tells him, "Thou art the head of gold, and after thee shall rise another kingdom inferior to him, and then a third kingdom inferior to that one, and then so on and so on. So the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, and whereas thou saw the feet and toes, part of the potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided." So this was in Daniel, and he was talking about the Nebuchadnezzar's dream and what it means. So, "Forasmuch as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter." So when he's talking about in there that there was a mountain that was cut out without hands, I believe that's probably going to be a meteorite. It's going to be a meteor that's coming down and it's destroying it, the earth, right? So that's kind of what I have an understanding of what it is. Now, I do want to say that all the information and stuff that I get or that I'm giving out, most of the information that I'm giving out, it's information that I have found. All right, I've studied this for Revelations pretty intently for the last 3 years. 3 years I've been studying it. So I've listened to a lot of seminars. I've read a lot of books. I've really looked into it. I've studied it myself. I've looked things up, and that's what I'm here to present to you. So the things I'm telling you are just facts. It's just stuff that it's a factual type of basis that I put into this. I'm not making stuff up. It's not my, well, I shouldn't say it's not my ideas. It goes along with what I think. And, I search out several different places on different things, and then I go with the ones that are most prevalent, the ones that most people believe. So that's kind of where I go when I'm doing my studies and everything, and I go off of what makes the most sense, and also what we believe is most important. So just a second, I think I lost something. I did. There it is. All right, so moving on. All right, so the next one, according to the Bible, the statue represents 5 kingdoms. Each one is stronger than the last, but in the Bible, only one is actually identified. The head of gold was Babylon, and that was in the time of David when David was doing all this, right? So we know that that's what that was. The Babylon was actually the head of gold. All right. So after that, you have the Persian Empire. It's what most historians and Bible scholars mean, that they believe these all are set up like this. Then you have Greece that came about after the Persian Empire, and then Rome after the Greek Empire, and then now you have divided nations of the modern day, and we'll get in that a little bit more here in just a minute. So Nebuchadnezzar, he was the king. He was the king of Babylon at this time. So we can talk about a little bit more about Nebuchadnezzar just briefly. He was the king of the ancient city of Babylon. It was from 612 to 539 BC and was the wealthiest and most powerful nation ever known. I mean, this thing was huge, okay? King David of Jerusalem, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of King David. His was small compared to Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, okay? It was just amazing. So if we look at some different comparisons of just basically the square footage of what all these are, you got Nineveh, which was 2.9 square miles is what the city was. After that, you got, I mean, if you think about the Roman Empire, and they controlled, at the time, the known world, you know, the Romans, but actually Rome was only 1 square mile. So then you got Athens, which everybody's heard of Athens, right? So it wasn't even a mile. It was zero point 0.8 square miles. So after that, you want to look at Babylon. So going back to Babylon, Babylon was 4 square miles of kingdom. This thing was amazing. I mean, as you can see, it was the largest city for a long time. It was the main city. Okay, it's 4 times the size of Rome. It had 8 different gates, and the Euphrates River flowed around it and through the center of it. It had fortified double wall thick battlements around the outside. They were 22 feet thick, and another inner wall which was 12 feet thick. So basically this whole city was virtually impenetrable. So it was, you know, basically Babylon being the golden head. There was no doubt that the city of gold was represented by the golden head of the statue in Nebuchadnezzar's dream. But as with everything, nothing lasts forever, right? So in 539 BC, we had the Persian army. So the Persian army laid siege to the city of Babylon for like 7 months. It was a long siege. But they could not get in. I mean, they couldn't get past the 22-foot walls. They had the river Euphrates that flowed around it. I mean, all this stuff. So Cyrus, who was the king of the Persians at that time, he ordered his men to dig channels from the river away from the city. Okay, the water was then diverted away from the walls and the city itself, and the Persian army went in through the water gates that were previously underwater. So that's how they actually got in. They got in and they destroyed it from the inside, and then you have Persia who was in there. So something cool about this, this was actually prophesied by Isaiah. If you look in Isaiah, 150 years before this Persian Empire took over Babylon, it says in Isaiah 44, 27 through 28, it says, "Who says to the deep, be dry? I will dry up your rivers." Okay, so Isaiah 44:28 says, "Who says of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and he shall fulfill my purpose." Okay, so Isaiah prophesied even with a name. I mean, he even gave the name of the king at that time that would take over, and that was 150 years before the Persian Empire actually took over. So in ancient times, when Persia was in charge of everything, they traded all over the world, and normally they traded in silver. Since there was an abundance of silver in the areas of Persia, it was actually known as the Silver Empire in those days. Therefore, historians know that the silver chest of the statue in the dream of Nebuchadnezzar was the statue of Persia. So Persia was the next one, right? Now, understand this. Daniel, all this happened long before the Persian Empire. I mean, and all these other empires. You can just see these things happening. You can see where this dream was actually prophesied, all these different cities in different ways, and it came to pass just like it said hundreds of years before. So that's just really amazing if you think about prophecy. So in 331 BC, Alexander the Great, he conquered Persia with bronze weaponry. Okay, so bronze weaponry was new for that time. It wasn't something that people had used in the past, and they just hadn't had them. So with his new bronze weaponry, he was able to basically, take over Persia. But something about this, Alexander had to conquer Tyre before he could actually be able to take over Persia, because he had to move up the coastline areas. So Tyre was a fishing and sailing city. All right. To take Tyre, Alexander had to get to it. Okay. So he built a causeway to the island by throwing blocks from the old city of Tyre, the old one, and piling them up in the sea to make land. Then he was able to move to Tyre and lay siege to it, move his armies across there. Right. So today, in modern day, the place where the city used to be is well known for a commercial fishing area. People just go there and they fish. A lot of commercial fishermen go there. But the cool thing about that is all this was prophesied in Ezekiel. So if you look in Ezekiel 26:45, and I'll give you a second to find it if you want to look it up. All right. So basically Ezekiel 26:4-5. It says, they will destroy the walls of Tyre and pull down her towers, which is exactly what he did. I will scrape away her rubble and make her a bare rock, which is what happened. Out of the sea she will become a place to spread fish nets, for I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. So basically, what was in Ezekiel and prophesied actually came true when Alexander the Great attacked Tyre to get to Persia, right? So that is something that was prophesied. I'm going over a bunch of prophecies here so you can see how they actually pan out. So Greece became the next superpower nation and used bronze to do this. During an age known as the Bronze Age, therefore the bronze belly and thighs of the statue were Greece. They were known as Greece in the statue. That's where the bronze belly and thighs come from. All right. So the next one was Rome. It was a iron monarchy. All right. So they used iron. They figured out how to use iron and make iron weapons. Due to the invention of the iron, Rome was able to make stronger and cheaper weapons. They could make more, and they were actually stronger than what the bronze was. It improved their military exponentially. They easily overthrew Greece and basically half of the known world with their military skills and advanced weaponry. Thus, doing so, they issued in the Iron Age, right? So historians can all agree that the Iron Legs in the prophecy was the nation of Rome. So now you have Rome taken over. So Rome's the big kid on the block, right? So years later, several barbarian horde armies conquered Rome, piece by piece, all across this nation. Now, if you don't know what a barbarian is, you might look it up sometime. Barbarian is basically anybody that wasn't Roman at the time was a barbarian. They were known as barbarians. So Germanian, they were all barbarians. Everybody was a barbarian. So these barbarians broke the Roman Empire into several pieces, and they all became nations of their own. So from that, you get Britain, France, Germany, Italy, etc., all over that side of the world, making modern Europe as we know it. These nations did not ever banded together. They never did. They just stayed their own nations. That's why you have these different nations of Britain, France, Germany, etc. Okay, these are what historians say the clay and iron feet of the statue is, because it was said that the clay and iron feet of the statue is divided nations. That comes from the actual prophecy of Daniel. So I'm pretty sure that's what came next, since the next ones were the barbarians and they never did band together. Okay, so now we're going to move on a little bit. So why is this so important? Why am I going over all this? I believe this to be one of the best known and well documented, undeniable prophecies ever. I mean, you can deny it, you can come up with all your different theories of how this all came together, but it really comes down to the fact that it was a prophecy in the Bible and it came true. So if you read all of this, it was prophesied during the time of the Golden Head, right? The time of Babylon. The rest of it came after. All right, all the other nations came afterwards, but it was in the prophecy. But it all matches up perfectly with what we know. Many historians believe this to be true and written down 2,500 years ago. So 2,500 years ago is when this prophecy came out. But up until 1946, there was still quite a few skeptics about it. You know, it was all basically what you would say is hearsay, right? So what happened in 1946? All right. So in 1946, there was a shepherd boy, and his Dead Sea Scrolls that he found. Okay, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Basically, in 1946, there was a child. There were some other children that were out, and I believe they were. I don't know if they were playing or if they were shepherding or something with their sheep, but he threw a rock and into some cave up by the Dead Sea, and he heard something crash. Right, so he went in and to look around, and he found all these pottery vases types of things inside this cave, and some of them had the Dead Sea Scrolls in them. Okay, so there's a big story behind that. I'm not going to go into the whole thing right now as far as how it came to be, but they were dated to be put in there around 600 BC. The main way that they date these things, people talk about carbon testing, carbon dating. That's good. It works sometimes. But a more accurate way is look at the other stuff that's there with the Dead Sea Scrolls. A lot of these things were buried with coins and stuff like that, that they can see the coin and know what date and what time period it came from. So they know that these were dated to 600 BC. So 600 years before the birth of Christ. All right. So you see, it's not a fable or a forgery. It's absolutely true. It was in the prophecy. It was written in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was an actual prophecy written in advance about things that we know has now happened. So we can now pretty much know for sure what's coming next, right? If everything else has happened, why wouldn't the next part come to pass? There's so many prophecies in the Bible that have come true. And I mean, these prophecies come to with 100% accuracy. I mean, there's no guesswork involved. They are true. And if the prophecies that have already came through, there's so many of them, why would you think that the ones that are coming up, say in Revelation, why would you think those would not? Okay? So, in the end, basically the statue is destroyed when a great rock smashes into its iron and clay feet, turning the whole thing into dust. All right, this is the apocalypse and the end of the world. So with everything that has come to pass now, it can be a fairly accurate depiction in knowing the end is the next event in this prophecy. And that time's now. I mean, the whole statue has played out. So what's left? Yeah, the mountain from the sky, right? So that's basically what's coming next. So what's next in the prophecy line? Basically, well, so Daniel 12:4, it says, even to the time of the end, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Look at where we are today. In the past 150 years, we have had an extensive increase in our knowledge of things. I mean, just for an example, for thousands of years, the fastest way to travel is by horse, right? People rode horses all the time, or pulled carriages with horses, or carts with horses, or whatever. It was horses, always horses, for thousands of years. But now, just in the last 100 years or a little more, we can travel hundreds of miles an hour, okay? So running to and fro, right? Plus, we have computers and phones and the internet increasing everybody's knowledge. Knowledge is so high now. All you got to do is look something up. And if you can remember what you looked up, you're that much smarter for it. It happens all the time. Our knowledge is increased. Also, there has been an incredible increase in biblical knowledge and understanding. And this also led to something else. So, the mark of the beast. All right. Some of you may or may not have heard about the mark of the beast. Okay. Is it scary? Yeah, it's kind of scary. I mean, you don't want to get it, right? That's just not something that, if you're a Christian, or I should say anybody, I'm telling you anybody, nobody should get it, right? But basically with all of our knowledge and everything, it's given the ability to apply the mark of the beast, okay? Which is in Revelations 13:17, where it says that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name, right? So what possibly could this have meant other than what we are seeing today? Okay, microchips or barcodes for referencing a person's information and finances. We're pretty close to this now. we can pay for things with a credit card, or a phone, or even a watch. So how far away from this is this from happening? Okay, and I'll get into all that later. One thing you need to think about, though, I checked this out, and you can look at it too. From what I found, basically in the whole world, only about 3% of money that's spent is actual money, actual cash. Everything else is done electronically. So it's not much of a step to get to something like this, right? Right. All right. So let's talk about some other things. Matthew 24:37. It says, "But as in the days of Noah were, so shall be the coming of the Son of Man." So basically, when Jesus comes back, the world is going to be in the same state that it was when he sent the flood in the days of Noah. So what kind of things were going on during the days of Noah? So we need to go to other Bible verses to see what it was like. So Genesis 6:13 tells us in Noah's day the earth was filled with violence. All right. So, and in Jude 1:7 it said, "In Lot's day, Sodom and Gomorrah had given itself over to fornication and strange flesh." So violence prevailed in Noah's day, and sexual immorality, and yes, that does include homosexuality. I'm sorry to say, well, I'm not sorry to say, that's just how it is. It prevailed in Lot's day. And this would be a sign of the end times before Jesus' return. So what kind of things do we see today? All right. So basically, you can't turn on the TV and watch anything, even on cable TV, that doesn't have violence and sex. I can't watch anything hardly unless it's, I don't know, Sesame Street, maybe not, but I haven't watched that in a while. But I mean, I can't think of anything else. You see commercials nowadays. I feel uncomfortable watching some commercials when my 17-year-old daughter is sitting in there with me. It's just, it's demoralizing. It's disgusting. It's just, I don't understand why there has to be so much violence and sexual immorality in the world. I'm sorry, like I said, I'm just going to tell you the facts. I mean, these are the facts. These things are going on, and they're not things that should be going on. I mean, they just really shouldn't. So let's look at today's culture. I mean, this is not a claim or a fictional story. These are actually facts. These are facts that I looked up and I have found and I've gone over with other people, and it's just things that's going on today. So starting in 2017, over the next couple of years, there have been more than 1,516 mass shootings. That's a lot of violence. I mean, we're talking mass shootings. That's how many mass shootings. That's not how many people died. I mean, there could be 20 people, it could be 5, it could be 30. I mean, that's a lot of people killing people for, I don't even know why. I don't get it. So 2016, murder rose in 29 of the largest cities in the United States. So murder's on the rise, just so everybody knows. In 2018, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of gay marriage. Gay marriage, that's a whole nother subject. I'm not really going to get into it. But if you look in the Bible, it is wrong. It's something that shouldn't be in there. It is listed under sexual immoralities. So, another thing, there are currently 110 million cases of sexually transmitted diseases, with 20 million new cases every year right now in America. There's sexually transmitted diseases. I mean, I think when I was a kid, I don't even think I remember any of these coming about. I really don't. I can't really think of too much anyway. I mean, there was some stuff out there, but not anything like there is today. But it's on the rise. So, let's go over to, Hosea 4:3. All right. So here's another type of prophecy that's coming to pass. Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven, yea, the fishes of the sea shall also be taken away. Okay, this is something that is most likely caused by pollution. I mean, I don't know, but it could be. An unnatural change in our ecosystem or something like that. But mass animal die-offs are on the rise. Okay, killing billions and raising a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions out there about all these mass animal deaths that are going on. Okay, one thing that I wanted to go over was the honeybee crisis. This is something that my mom, who hopefully she's watching, talks about all the time, is the honeybees. The honeybees are so important, right? But it deepens as evidence shows there has been a dramatic increase in die-offs. Up to 50% of the bees are dying now. That creates a lot of worry over food supply, right? Because if the bees don't pollinate the plants, we don't have the plants, the animals that eat the plants, that's what we eat. Or we eat the plants if you're a vegetarian, but it's just not going to work, okay? So it is very important. So Luke 21, 25 through 26, it says, "And upon the earth distress the nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's heart failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken." So you want to talk about some distress for the earth. All right, so look at this chart right here. I mean, what we have from 1980 to 2016, it shows the rise of all this stuff. You look at the meteorological storms, okay, they're all going up. It's been going up every year. Hydrological, which is floods, landslides, avalanches, stuff like that, anything that has to do with water, but it's all been on the rise. And the climate, okay, extreme temperatures, droughts, forest fires, all that. We hear about it all the time now. I mean, this stuff never used to happen. The worst I ever worried about, a forest fire, Smokey the Bear would tell me to put out my fire when I leave from camping, and I always did. But, I mean, now you see it all the time, this stuff going on, right? So, now, I want to look at in Matthew 24:7, okay? 24:7, it says, earthquakes in diverse places, okay? He's talking about different things that are going to happen towards the end of times, okay? And it's Jesus talking. It's not Matthew. Matthew wrote it down. Jesus is saying this stuff. Earthquakes in diverse places. Okay? So you can look at the following and decide for yourself what you think. All right? So New Zealand felt a record 32,000 earthquakes in 2016. All right? We had a millennium's worth of earthquakes in just 2 years during 2014 and 2015. You had big earthquakes have doubled in 2014 compared to each year since 1979. A global surge in earthquakes between 2004 and 2014. Current graphs clearly show an alarming worldwide trend of increasing earthquake strength and frequency. These results are in agreement with the USGS, which is the United States Geological Society. All right, they're the ones that test all this stuff. And it shows an increase in frequency of stronger earthquakes, okay? So it's a magnitude greater than 5, all right? So basically what you have, as of April 2018, there were around 3,952 earthquakes happening every month, all right? Some not even reported anymore. So from 1960 to 1980, 6.0 earthquakes averaged 1 per decade. Okay, from 60 to 80, 1 per decade. Since 2014, there are approximately 5,000 6.0 earthquakes a year. Some of these earthquakes aren't even reported anymore because they happen so often now. I remember when the magnitude 5 earthquakes on the Richter scale were reported every time it happened because it didn't happen very much, okay? But now it happens so often they don't even report them, okay? So we're looking at a 600% increase just in the last 50 years of earthquakes, all right? Tell me that doesn't mean anything. I mean, if anybody can tell me that that's just it's nothing, it just, it's just something that's happening naturally, either way you look at it, it looks like we're headed for something bad, okay? So, I mean, this stuff is really important, and it all lines up with the Bible, right? So, here's something else. Nowadays, there are many prophets and teachers claiming to be in direct contact with God, okay? So, you look through this, and there's a lot of people on there that you probably know. I'm not saying everybody on here is a false teacher or false prophet, but Can you tell me which ones are and which ones are not just by looking at them? I mean, you can't do it. There's no way to do it. So how do you know? Okay, we need to watch their words carefully and test them with God's teachings in the Bible. Some may be prophets of God, but not all of them. I mean, I don't believe so. You got to test what they say. It's very important that when you're listening to somebody and they're talking, you go back to the Bible and you read through the Bible about what they were talking about, the passage they were talking about, and the context of that passage to make sure it lines up with what they're telling you. I mean, that's the only way I can put it, okay? So, once again, for everybody out there that likes Joel Steen or Jesse Duplantis or, all these other people. I like Jesse, I do. But, you have to know. You have to know what they're saying and understand what they're saying and test it against the Bible. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Okay? So, there's also been an increase of sin. All of these things we see in today's culture in the last 50 years ago or 30 years ago, we would never have seen. I mean, this stuff is insane. So you hear about this stuff all the time as far as idolatry, adultery, you have violence everywhere, there's lust everywhere, people getting in trouble for it, for greed, disrespect. I mean, just blatant disrespect. I see kids, teenagers, it disgusts me. I mean, some of the ways these kids act, right? Okay, so then you got your homosexuality, and that's been on a rise. You've got theft. I mean, I just saw the other day because of this coronavirus that in San Francisco, anything that's a misdemeanor or under, people aren't getting arrested for it. So they actually had a video of this guy and this lady, and they were in Walgreens, and they have bags, and they're taking stuff off the shelves and just sticking them in their bags. And they know they can't be arrested. So they're taking stuff, they're stealing, right? And then they walk out of the store with their duffel bags full, and there's an employee who's just standing there. There's nothing he can do about it. It's ridiculous. All right? So then you have lying, of course. Got a lot of liars out there. Everybody's lying. If you're saying you're not a liar or you have never lied, you're a liar. Sinner. Just kidding. Okay, so, and a lot of aggressive stuff that's going on. A lot of aggression out there between people. You see people on the highways fighting and stuff like that. A lot of selfishness. Selfishness is something that we really need to watch out for in this day and age, especially with the coronavirus. And yes, I'm not going to talk about that a whole lot. I'm sure you've heard enough about it. But coronavirus, don't be selfish, okay? Leave some toilet paper for somebody else. I mean, leave some food on the shelves. Leave me some hand sanitizer. Don't hoard it. I mean, that's just selfish. People are trying to make a profit off of this pandemic. It makes me sick. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so truth. Okay, we're going to talk about truth. 2 Timothy 4:3-4. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. More and more people turn from the church and make their own church, their own God, right? What makes them happy. The one that allows them to dictate their own truth for happiness. That's what these people are looking for in a church. Believing that the Bible is not real, but a fictional book of fairy tales and fables, we know that is not correct. And that the Bible, it is factual, all right? I've got a lot of stuff on that too, and maybe sometime I'm going to do a series on the Bible, but I'm telling you right now, it is a factual-based history book, right? So, that's basically where we're at today. I mean, all these things that are going on in the world, all this stuff is starting to happen. Now, if you read Revelations, and I really hope you do, even though you don't understand most of it, or part of it, or some of it, or any of it, I'm going to try and explain it to you, but you should read through it. But, we know there's people out there who don't believe in God. We know there's people out there that don't know God. A lot of them don't believe in God because they don't know who He is or anything about Him, right? So, okay, basically, that's what I got right now. I'm going to go over more stuff at another time. This is just the first part in the series, and I apologize if everything didn't go perfectly. I did my best, right? So I'm sure I'll get better as the time goes on, the weeks go on. I'm going to try to do one of these every week. Hopefully I can pick out a day and let you know. I'll probably do that tonight, post another upcoming part of this series. So the next thing that's coming up, actually in the next series, I wanted to give you a little preview. It's some more about biblical prophecies, okay? So we're going to be going over biblical signs for the coming of the end of days. So it's really exciting. It's good stuff. I mean, this stuff that I just went through, I think is pretty good. I think it's pretty exciting. It makes a lot of sense to me. But the stuff coming up, it's going to be awesome. So I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know. Maybe I won't wait till next week. Who knows? But I will let everybody know. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. I don't know why, but we could not get the messenger to work. So we couldn't figure out how to do the messages or how to get messages. The live chat, maybe I don't have it turned on. I don't know. I don't even know. So, nope, I don't know. Anyway, so I apologize if you guys had questions about things or whatever. Write them down. Maybe we'll get to them next time if we get a chance. But until then, stay safe. Keep your head down. Remember to pray. Remember your social distancing that's going on, right? We want everybody to be healthy. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. God bless you all.